Welcome back to the Menopause Movement Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Gordon, and I'm so excited to have Lindsay Durant on the show this week. Lindsay is an expert in transformational mindset shifting. She knows what it's like to be stuck, and she knows what is needed to change your life to achieve your dreams. Lindsay is mentored by Bob Proctor, arguably the best teacher of human potential and growth and a star from the hit movie The Secret. Lindsay helps results-seeking individuals and companies worldwide to increase their results quickly by providing the tools for high-performance quantum leaps. Through the teaching of a precise blueprint and the study of the human mind, Lindsay instills effective ideas and habits, otherwise known as a paradigm shift. So in the episode, we talked about self-development, how she's a stay-at-home mom, how she has had several painless births, the law of attraction and the law of vibration, thoughts and expectations, leaving an abusive marriage, how traumatic experiences can be an opportunity to change thoughts, self-discovery, addressing your truth, and how a gratitude journal can change your life. So if you're currently in a space where you're looking for change, this episode is definitely for you. Also, stay to the end because Lindsay gives us a powerful visualization for our future lives. It's pretty amazing. Now, at the end of the episode, make sure you visit my website where you can find the show notes plus any links mentioned with Lindsay. And the website is drmichellegordon.com/podcasts. That's drmichellegordon/podcasts, PODCASTS. Don't forget the S. Now, if you enjoy this episode, make sure you subscribe so you're always the first to know when a new episode is released. And here we are going on to Lindsay. Thanks so much for being a part of the menopause movement. Welcome, Lindsay. I'm so glad you're here. Lindsay, why don't you just give us a little bit of your backstory? Tell us about how you got involved with Bob Proctor.
Okay. I'm not really even sure when Bob was introduced into my life. My dad was very much into business development, and so he was, the type of guy that would listen to Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins in the vehicle on the way to and from work. Not really work. He owned the business.
Yeah.
So this stuff has really just been a part of my life as far back as I can remember.
So you always were listening to Unleash the Power Within or some other Tony Robbins thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that sort of thing. I thought my dad was a little crazy, but I'm sure some of it got in my brain.
yeah. So that's all he had in the car. That's the only thing he would play, or those tapes.
There were times where he did have music, but for the most part, he was listening to his personal development tapes.
All right. And so what got you into the personal development space?
This was something that I have been doing with people for free for a long period of time. I
Okay.
was a stay-at-home homeschooling mother. I've been trained as a pastor, so the counseling and helping people just came naturally. So I just became known as the person that people would contact when they were having a problem.
Okay. So you were counseling people through their crises?
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
and yep.
All right. And tell me more about being a stay-at-home mom. I mean, I was never a stay-at-home mom. I was always worked, you know. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, okay, so let's I'm not a regular stay-at-home mom because I do have a super huge family.
Uh-huh.
Um, so my I have 14 children.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah, yeah, I have 14
Wait, yeah,
children.
you gave birth to 14 children?
I absolutely did.
Oh,
Yes.
all right. All right. Anybody who's listening, I mean, listen, I had one kid. Okay. And that was hard. So I I don't know how you did 14. That's wow. I mean, did it
Yeah.
get easier? The labor, and did it get easier at, like, with number 10? I
Yeah, yeah, actually towards the end, I started to have painless births, where I knew I was in labor, but I had learned to focus to the point that I didn't feel pain anymore.
Oh, well, how do you do that?
That was actually, I just manifest it. I just believed that I would have no pain. And then I did sort of hypnosis tricks during labor to get myself out of myself and focus
Uh-huh.
and visualize something else. And the result was a baby with, the pressure and not the pain
Uh-huh.
that they tell everybody is possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's I still just wow. Okay. That's crazy to me. I'm sorry. Um, it's just listen, I believe in manifestation. So let's talk a little bit about manifestation. Can we go to the basics? I mean, we haven't had anybody on the Menopause Movement podcast yet who's talked about manifestation. We talked a little bit about it with Tina Van Leuven in terms of aligning your energy with joy, and how that's so important, if you want to get what you want, right? To align your energy properly. But you're like, the manifestation lady, right? I mean, there is somebody called Manifestation Babe. That's not you.
No,
But
that's
but can we just kind of go to basics, because a lot of people listening may not understand. They may never have heard of law of attraction. They may never have heard of what manifesting is. And so maybe we can just start with the basics of what that is.
okay. The law of attraction is actually secondary to another law, the law of vibration, which I believe is why a lot of people don't get what they want through the law of attraction because they're not employing the law of vibration to bring their vibration up.
Uh-huh.
So, and the way that we do that really is through um, getting ourselves through visualization into the place that we want to be so that we feel it. Our subconscious feels that we are already there. So it begins to raise our vibration. So we basically just move into the place that we're trying to attract.
Right. So let's just talk a bit about vibration for one
Okay.
second. Physics. I'm going to talk physics. And
Okay.
for anybody who thinks that they can't understand physics, it's really it's not hard. Basically, we have what we see,
Hmm.
right,
Yeah.
and what we can touch, right. It feels
Yeah.
solid,
Hmm.
but in reality, everything is vibrating.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal when it was discovered, and this was a combination of all these guys like Bohr, and well, Bohr was gases, but Einstein, talked about how light is both a particle and a wave, right? And that's when everyone's heard the term photon, and the photon is the actual particle of light. But also, light will go back and forth between particle and wave. And there was an experiment. It was called the double slit experiment, and this proved that something isn't really there unless it's observed. And we'll leave it at that. I don't want to go into too much physics, but it was really trying to observe electrons while they're moving. And electrons are one piece of the atom, right? And they go. So if you think about the universe and how we the Earth revolves around the sun, right? Like
Hmm.
that. In the same way, we have the atom with protons, neutrons, and electrons, and then even smaller particles now, but those aren't really important for this. And so, in terms of looking at electrons are charged a certain way, and so they did this double slit experiment, and they threw radiation, and they said, okay, where are the electrons? And when they expected to see the electrons, they saw them, but and they were just it's a very interesting experiment, because the electrons are seen. They're only there when there's an observer. And so that became the birth of quantum mechanics. And then in the quantum, and now the law of attraction, the law of vibration, all that stuff comes out of the truth of quantum mechanics. And we're still working on a unified field. The closest thing that we've come to so far, the unified field theory, is probably string theory. And now I'm getting way out there in terms of physics, but I want to bring it back in to say that what happens in the quantum realm. it doesn't follow Newtonian physics. So Newtonian physics says for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, and it says a body that starts in motion will stay in motion until there's something that stops it. So for example, a hockey puck will go across the ice, because there's very little friction, right? But if you try to hit a hockey puck across a carpet, it's not going to go very far, right? So
Exactly.
those are the first and second laws of Newtonian physics. But in the quantum realm, Newtonian physics don't apply. They don't apply. And when you apply that to the spiritual world, right? Then we start hearing stories of people like Jesus Christ who could make loaves and fishes appear, or people who like Sai Baba who could be in more than one place at once,
Hmm.
or even the lineage that Yogananda comes from, Paramahansa Yogananda comes from, where they talk about Lahira Mahasai, who was able to materialize different places, or Babaji, or Sri Yukteswar. So it's a matter of aligning your energy. So we're getting back to now. So I just wanted to give a little bit of background so that
Okay.
people could understand. And what happens in the quantum realm is that things actually do move faster than the speed of light. And in what we currently understand in our physics is that things can only move so fast. And the limit is the speed of light. And the reason for that, I finally understood after all these years, is this equation that we all hear of, E equals mc squared, right?
Hmm.
So energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Now, why is it that we can't go faster than the speed of light? Because as a body increases in speed, the mass increases too. And so before you can get faster than the speed of light, you have infinite mass. And so it's impossible. So
Hmm.
there's the physics behind all of this. And now everything exists as both a particle and a wave, even us. And there we come back to vibration. So now let's talk about vibration.
Well, thank you. That was good.
No, because I think it's really important to understand that there's the solid world that we see,
Hmm.
and then on top of that there is this mystical world that is actually still explainable by science. And as much as many people don't want to see that, there's more and more people who are taking people and putting them through certain types of meditation, and then measuring their genetics and measuring certain things like IgA, and showing that doing certain types of meditation can change the actual makeup of your genes.
Hmm.
And so again, we come back to law of vibration. And so that's where I want you to pick it up, if you could. So how you
Okay.
teach people to get into law of vibration.
Everything that we see and everything that is began as a thought.
Yes. Yes. The iPhone began as a
Yes.
thought. Yeah. I,
Everything
I
that
love
is.
this. Oh, I love this so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is great.
It just began as a thought in one person's mind. And actually, quite often, it began in more than one person's mind at the same time through energy, just because they happen to be in the same vibration. There was more than one person with the same ideas of the light bulb or the engine all at the same time who had never spoken to each other because they happened to be on the same frequency.
Yeah.
And I guess the way that I can explain the frequencies and vibrations in a way that everybody can understand is, Michelle, if I picked up the phone and I called your number, I'm going to get you. I'm not going to get your neighbor. I'm not going to get the person that's standing right beside you. If you had two phones side by side, I'm not going to get the other phone. I'm just going to get the number that I called. Exactly. You have two phones. I have two phones. That's why I thought of that, but you do too. Good. um, because I called a number on a certain frequency. And
Right.
we can, or we have a little, you know, $8 alarm clock that plays radio. We understand that when we turn that radio on for the alarm clock and we set it to a certain station, that station's going to come in.
Yeah.
So if we can buy, little 5, 8 $10 alarm clock and expect that when we turn it to that frequency, we're going to get exactly what we want. We can actually do that with ourselves as well. When we turn ourselves to that frequency through visualization, through expectation, through thought, and also through our actions moving towards that, we can expect exactly what we want in the same way.
Yeah. No, that's really true. And I think a big part of getting into the right vibration is to pay attention to our emotions.
Yes. Yep.
So, we are emotional beings. We're very emotional creatures. And it's very easy for us, especially as we age, to be stuck in a one way of thinking,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And if we want something different, we have to do something different and we
Yeah.
have to be something different. And
Yeah.
so, the emotion of anger is not going to help us get what we want. It
No.
might help us get out of a situation, but the emotion of anger and resentment and fear and judgment, and those are what we call lower frequency emotions.
Hmm.
But the frequency of joy and gratitude especially, gratitude is like the number one thing that's going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah. I
Um,
That
Go
actually
ahead.
reminds me of a study that I read recently, where people were holding vials of their own DNA, and they were instructed to do three different things. One of them was, they were instructed just to, think good thoughts, think positively, while trying to unwind the DNA, but no emotion whatsoever. They were just thinking, good things. The other one was they were holding their DNA and thinking angry thoughts and feeling anger. And the other one was feeling gratitude, feeling love.
Joy,
Um,
appreciation.
exactly.
Yeah.
And what they found was that the DNA held by the angry person was damaged. The one that was feeling no emotion at all, there was no change. And the one that was feeling gratitude, love, appreciation was, made better. Like, it was healthier.
Yeah.
It's incredible to me that we can have that much power just through our emotions.
Eh,
So, oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
So when we're visualizing, we need to visualize and actually put ourselves in that place.
Mhm.
um, Feel what we'd feel if we were there. Feel the comfort that we're feeling. I'll use an example from my own life. I'm a recently single mother. I have 10 children that still live with me. My marriage was extremely
Oh, that's
unhealthy.
all?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Just
I know.
10 just 10 children living with you.
I know. I love it when I say only, and other people
Yeah.
are like, seriously, Lindsay. Like that's
Yeah.
um, so I only and but my marriage, like, I tried to make it work for so many years and it just was not possible, and I finally realized that in order to be healthy, I needed to leave. And I had started to visualize a large log home, um, on either the ocean or overlooking a forest. And I started to visualize this back in January or February. And I wrote it in my goals journal. And I was living in an RV at the time. We were nomadic, which was another goal that I had visualized, and we were doing it. We were traveling around, in an RV, and seeing the sights and going everywhere we wanted to go. And but I started to visualize this house, and in my vision, I would wake up in the morning and walk out of my bedroom, and I'd walk into the kitchen, I'd get a cup of tea, and I'd go and I'd sit and I'd look over, look out the windows, and I'd feel the comfort, and I'd feel the love and the peace and the contentment. And, I would just go through my day while living in a large log home overlooking the ocean or a forest. And so when my marriage really, it got to the point where I knew I absolutely needed to get out. There was no way I was ever going to be able to be a healthy human being while being in that marriage. I needed a place to rent. I couldn't, it was winter. I was in Canada, or well, the winter was coming, sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm in Canada, so living in an RV in Canada during the winter isn't a good thing. My ex-husband told me I could take the kids to the southern US, but I didn't feel like doing that, ending the marriage and then taking the kids away. from him immediately just didn't seem right to me. So I looked for a rental house. Now I have dogs and I have a lot of kids, so I needed certain criteria. I needed to be able to bring my dogs with me, and I needed obviously for it to be big enough for my kids, so for a landlord not to say you cannot put 10 kids in a two-bedroom house. Um,
Yeah.
it just wasn't it wasn't really an option. And due to some situations that happened in my marriage, my budget was limited. So I had three things in this rental market working against me. Normally, places that are big enough were far out of my budget at this current, because of the situation of my marriage. Almost every single one of them said no pets at all.
Yeah.
And if they happened to say dogs were allowed, they were tiny. And so I looked and I figured I would look one last time. And I found a house on it's called Kijiji, which is the equivalent of the American Craigslist. And there it was. There was this house that was big enough. It's 3 stories, two kitchens, three living rooms, 5 bedrooms, enough beds for 20 people, I think,
Mm.
is what the house has.
Wow.
Um, but it is a large log home overlooking the ocean and a forest.
And a forest.
And a forest. I got both. I was thinking, or, but it's both.
Yeah.
I'm overlooking a bay, and on the other side of the bay is a forest. I got what I visualized. And I told my ex-husband, okay, I'm leaving in a week. I've rented a house. You can't come with me. And I am now living that vision of walking out of my bedroom in the morning, walking into the kitchen, getting my cup of tea, and sitting in a home that is peaceful, that is contentment, where I have pure shalom. It's unfreaking believable.
And you
But
manifested that.
I manifested it exactly. I
Yeah.
manifested it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the power of manifestation when you can get into the proper vibration. So maybe people have heard of law of attraction.
Yeah.
So let's talk for a second about law of attraction.
Okay. The law of attraction in its basics is that what you're wanting in life, and what your, well, feeling's going to come into it again, so vibration is always going to be part of it.
Yeah.
is is going to come to you.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think regardless of whether you believe or don't believe or have never heard of the law of attraction, the law of attraction works because it's a law. And
Yeah.
so what you think about is what's going to happen. What
Yeah.
you and so you're either going to and people have a hard time with hearing this, but you're either going to create the life you want or you're going to leave it to the devices of chaos.
Exactly. If you think of people who are, maybe their paradigm, which is their habits and
Mhm.
beliefs, if their paradigm says that all bad things happen in threes, then they get a flat tire and their automatic thought is, oh no, two more things are going to happen.
Yeah,
So then they're basically manifesting the second bad thing. So the
right.
second bad thing happens and they're like, oh, they always come in threes. So to those people, they always manifest three bad things in a row because they believe that they're going to. And they're what happens to them follows their beliefs.
Sure.
Whereas someone who is using the law of attraction effectively would get that flat tire and just automatically think, well, there's a reason for this. It's not a bad thing. What can I learn from it? Maybe I'm missing an accident up ahead, or something like that.
Yeah, I like to teach. So in the membership, we talk quite a bit in the menopause movement membership about things that happen.
Mhm.
Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Who knows?
You never know. You never
It's
know until
just a
you're looking
thing.
back.
It's
Yep.
just a thing. Things
Yep.
happen. We've suffered a pretty bad tragedy in my practice. One of my medical director actually passed away suddenly,
Oh no.
and it's been really hard. It's been really really hard because we're down one person in the surgical practice, and we're having to do some pivoting. But at the end of the day, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I mean, it's sorrowful. There's a lot of sorrow. We're very sad.
Mhm.
Because losing somebody, there's a ton of sorrow when it's somebody you've been close to, somebody that you love.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, every time something happens, the universe has got your back. There's opportunity, and there's always opportunity for growth in every single situation. So this is a pretty horrible situation, but at the end of the day, I'm finding that if I didn't have a spiritual practice, I think it would be I would be a lot more devastated over this. And
Mhm.
in the last year, I've really developed, maybe 2 years really. I've worked very hard to develop a regular meditation practice and trying to understand my role as a spiritual being, because in reality we're humans, right? And we're
Mhm.
we're 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 spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yeah.
And I really do believe that our job on this earth is to get back to God, or the greater, whatever the greater thing is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
The sea of cosmic consciousness. I actually got into it in the meditation. It was the first time ever, and I'm sitting in this like field of light and gray, and say, oh, this is it. This is what I want to be. This is where I want to be. Wow. Oh,
Mhm.
anything's possible here. This is really cool. And then I was gone. But it was the first and only time I've ever really been there.
Mhm.
And that's after, meditating pretty religiously for a couple of years. So so it we don't meditate so that we can get into the cosmic consciousness. I think we meditate to kind of be sane. It's like
I
exercise, right?
I think
Why
so.
do
Yeah.
why do I exercise? I exercise to save my brain, and I exercise to keep my body sound. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I just have to do it. It's just another thing I have to do. I don't always want to, but it's something
But
I just do. It's like brushing my teeth.
yeah. Yeah, you like
Yeah.
the results of it. You know the
Yeah.
results are helpful, so you continue to do it.
Yeah. So, so I was wondering if, hopefully maybe at the end of this, you can walk us through a visualization. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll do that. We'll do that later. Can you tell us a little bit then about how to get in touch with the proper emotions to raise your vibration?
That isn't always easy. If we're in a bad place in our lives, it isn't always easy.
Yeah.
So what we can do then is while we're visualizing, we're also, you know, thinking, the happiest things we possibly can. If we sometimes someone may not believe that they could actually have what they're visualizing. So they have to maybe think of something a little bit smaller while they're, feel something a little bit smaller while visualizing the big thing.
Mhm.
I find that the best time to do this and get into the right feelings is when you first wake up and you're kind of in the twilight zone, and right before you go to sleep and you're in that same twilight zone. Those I find are the easiest times to actually get into the emotions and the feeling of what you're doing. So you're basically in a waking dream.
It's like a lucid dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Not Einstein, Edison, he would he would sit in his chair, and he'd have like those balls, those balls that you put in your hands that make noise, and he'd
Hmm.
put those in there in his hands, and because he would go to sit in the chair with a problem, and then he would just sit there, and he'd keep the balls in his hands so that he wouldn't completely fall asleep,
Hmm.
and he would get into that lucid dreaming place. And many many people have had decisions, or experiments, or solutions come to them when they were in some sort of a waking dream state, or even a dream state.
Yeah.
Sergey Brin, who is the co-founder of Google, had a dream about indexing the internet, and woke up and wrote it down because he was in the habit of writing down his dreams. And so
Use the power.
yeah, it's pretty interesting. Well, because we're in a different state of being when we're dreaming, when we're
Our,
sleeping.
our
We're going.
conscious mind shuts down at that point, and our
Yeah,
subconscious mind comes forward.
yeah.
So
So
the answers go through a different process. They're not going through our logical mind, and our logical mind may hear these ideas during the day, and our logical mind goes, shut up. There's, there's
yeah,
no way that's not even possible.
yeah,
And just what, indexing the internet, as if we could do that,
All right.
you
Well,
know?
it's
Yeah.
it's funny because the conscious mind, the mind that we use regularly, the skeptical kind of, scientific mind is only 5% of our programming. And the
Hmm.
rest of it is automatic. So we've got this computer in our head that, as we grow up, and I think by the time we're 35, it's pretty set. It makes decisions about our environment, about who we are, about what we do. As a matter of fact, I went through an exercise the other day, and I was really certain. Now, I decided I was going to be a doctor when I was 5.
Okay.
Okay. I decided I was going to be a doctor when I was 5 because my mother said something when I had 2 uncles. So my mom's brother and my mom's brother-in-law were both doctors. And my mom had real funny ideas about money. And I just remember her saying, "Well, those guys are so rich, they're doctors." And so at age
Mhm.
5, I decided that I was going to be a doctor. But what that did to me subconsciously, and one of the reasons I've been struggling in my other business, and so this is a really like a big breakthrough for me, was that I had decided that the only way I could make money was as being a doctor.
Yeah, that's how it
Yeah.
stands. Yep.
Yeah. And that happened when I was 5, and
Okay.
I'm 55 years old. So that's 50 years of that belief.
And it still affects you.
And it's well, now not anymore because I
Not
don't
anymore,
believe it
but
anymore.
yeah,
But
but it
but but 50 years of that belief, and that's why I was able to do 15 years of school so that I could get to the doctor thing
Mhm.
and make some money.
Yep, yep,
And now my goal is to reach women and help women get through menopause in a way that is, showing them that there's more meaning to life than just living it, right?
yep.
And transcend all the symptoms, which is what we do in the menopause movement membership. But I found that just fascinating that I had something that happened when I was 5. And so I just wonder, like, what other programs are running in the background that I can't even see yet?
Oh, so many. Most
Yeah.
most of who we are is actually set by the time we're 5 or 6 years old. But the
Yeah.
problem is we didn't set it. We didn't make those decisions. Someone else made those decisions for us. Our
Sure.
grandparents and our grandparents' parents, our parents, the way that they lived, the ideas that they had, the beliefs that they had about money, about relationships, about where to live, all of that just went filtered right down through our genetics and our genetic makeup and everything. So we're pretty much set as who we're going to be by the time we're 5 or 6 years old. So one of the things that I do to help people, it's actually one of the main things that I do, is I go in and help people basically to wash their brains of
Yeah.
of the programming, because it is programming.
Sure.
It's like a Windows 95 computer.
Well, it's a little bit more sophisticated than that,
I will.
you
It
know.
could be ruin it. But what we
I
really want is, a MacBook Air. You know, we may have been raised with ideas that we can only do certain things. Our income is only going to be at a certain level. Maybe
Yeah.
our parents only lived, they lived under the poverty level. So we believe that that's all that's possible. That's where the Windows 95 computer comes in.
I see.
So we're going through our lives believing that everything that we can have is less than. So what I do is I help people to go in and recreate their paradigms to be what they want them to be
Yeah.
instead of what they were handed down. So say they don't want to just make under $30,000 a year. Say they want to make $30,000 a month. I can go in and I can help them to change the paradigms that they were handed down through generations so that a whole new world opens up for them and they can begin to earn $30,000 a month.
Yeah, so limiting beliefs around money are really, really key. If you went, if especially if you're an entrepreneur, it becomes really important to start paying attention to all of the beliefs that were handed down by your parents. And remember, when by the time you're 5, those all of those decisions you make are based on what's available to you at the time. So you're
Mhm.
picking out of the environment that you have. And the problem with making decisions for your life as a child is that you just don't have the experience. There's no, as an adult. So as an adult, if we suffer a trauma,
Mhm.
we have at least the history of our life to help help us like shape that trauma into something as just a thing. But
Mhm.
when your whole life is, as a child, your whole life is your parents and the rest of your family and that sort of thing, and then you suffer a trauma, or you suffer, so like even for me with this weird thing about doctors being the only way to make money, there's no experience,
Mhm.
right? But the other thing, and the thing I like to say, and we kind of go deep into this in the membership, but we talk about how if you're living from programming that happened when you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, then you're really letting a child run your life. And do
Yes.
you want a child to run your life, or do you want to be that adult? And how do you see yourself? And I'll say now, even now, I still sometimes see myself as a child. And I haven't, so I've got a lot of work to do too. I'm not saying that I haven't.
We
But
always do.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and the work is never done.
No.
And in that, so we use 5% of our brain during our waking time. The rest of it is just automatic pilot. That's like breathing and heart rate and excreting and those sorts of things. But then on top of that, there are automatic thought patterns that just keep going and going and going. But then we ask, what is a thought? It's just a thought, right? What is a belief? A belief is a sentence in your head that you just keep saying over and over again, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Is it true? And can
You
we
know?
change it?
Oh, we can absolutely change it.
Yeah,
Um, you can change it. You can change your thoughts into whatever you want.
right,
So let's go back to the example of bad things always happen in threes.
right.
That's a belief.
It is.
And it's not going to change overnight, but you can absolutely change it. And you can actually change it quickly. Like,
I think it can change. It can change in an instant, because I
yeah,
think that all change happens in an instant, and it's at the instant of decision.
yeah, yeah. You can, if you make a committed decision to change it, then the
Yeah,
moment it comes into your mind, bad things happen in threes. You can argue with yourself and say, no, this isn't necessarily a bad
right.
thing. This
Yeah,
is just a thing.
it's just a thing.
It's just a thing. It
Yeah,
just happened. Yep.
yeah. I've got this. There's this little video that I have on Facebook that's about, let's say that you've been really good. You're trying to lose weight, you followed your diet, and then you ate ice cream. Now, is the act of eating ice cream giving you permission to go and eat pizza and hamburgers and french fries and everything else because it's a failure? Or is it
No.
just one time you ate ice cream and you just ate it and now you're just going to go back to whatever? It's just a thing. And I think over and over and over, the reason why we have such a hard time with behavior change is because, number one, we've got these ingrained thoughts that we don't know about that keep us from making the changes that we want. And number two, we look for ways, because of the subconscious program, we look for ways to give ourselves permission to go back to the other state of being.
Mm-hmm.
And so in reality, if we want to
Comfortable.
change our behavior and become somebody new, we really have to be that person now. And that leads us back to raising vibration.
Exactly. Fake it till you make it was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it. I think it's not just faking it till you make it. So
Becoming
let's
that.
yeah,
Become,
so let's talk about, let's say that I use this example a lot. Want to lose 100 pounds. Okay. I gained 100 pounds because I decided to, one, not exercise. Was never moving my body. I liked to drink alcohol. I mean, then this is just an example. Okay. I didn't gain 100 pounds, but I did gain 50.
mhm,
Okay. I gained
yeah.
50 through menopause and whatnot. But here's, the behaviors, right? I didn't watch what I ate. I like to eat a lot of hamburgers and French fries and things that will pile on the food, pile on the fat. I like to drink beer and other forms of alcohol,
Mhm.
right? I drank diet soda, which is not good for you.
No.
So the habits that I had led to that behavior led to my piling on the weight.
Mhm,
So when I got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't want to live like this anymore. All right.
mhm,
What does somebody of normal weight, what do they look like? What does their life look like? And then I
What
had to start acting that way from that point on.
exactly what movements do they do?
Yeah.
Yep. What choices do they
Yeah.
make?
Yeah.
And skinny people choose to eat dessert, but they don't
Sometimes, yeah.
choose to eat a quarter of a cake. They, they choose to have a
A couple
small
bites.
piece. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if that. Yeah, so it's been very interesting, and especially when it comes to weight for me, I had this whole thought that there wasn't a piece of personal responsibility involved there. It was just my body or whatever.
Hmm.
And in reality, that was my behavior that caused that. And so if my behavior caused that, then my behavior can change to create a new reality.
Exactly.
And so these are the things that I am talking about with myself on a regular basis. What choices am I going to make today that are going to lead me to the goal that I want to have? And even, I do Monday Facebook Lives, and every single Monday I say, okay, what are the three things that you're going to do that's going to move yourself forward to the goal that you have, the goal that you want? What are those three things?
Yeah.
And so I ask the ladies every single Monday on Facebook Live what they're going to do, and I ask them to put them down in the comments, because
Yeah.
if it's really hard to move yourself forward if you don't set some tangible goals,
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
all right, so we talked a little bit about how to raise your vibration. We talked about subconscious mind. Let's talk a little bit about expectations and how expectations can shape your reality and shape your future.
Well, we definitely get what we expect.
Okay.
all all of the time, actually.
Yeah.
Um,
But not, I mean, but do we? Do we? I mean, do we
well,
expect to be, I mean, I don't know that we always expect to be in, did you expect to be in an abusive relationship? Was that an expectation? So, while we're
no,
100% responsible for our life, at the same time we can't be responsible for other people's behavior. We can only be responsible for our reactions, right?
exactly, exactly. So I think, see, that's a tough question because there is personal responsibility in that as well. Not that I was responsible in any way
Mhm.
for the abuse that I went through, but I was responsible for my choice to stay.
Yeah.
Um,
But let's just go
you
back
know,
to that and say that women stay in abusive relationships because they're afraid. They're afraid for their lives. They're afraid for the lives of their
they're afraid.
children.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, and in the episode with Mickey Sturgis, we talked about this at length about why she was so afraid to leave. And, when he put that gun in her face and how afraid she was because
Mm,
of that, but she had made this decision at that time to go ahead and leave.
yeah.
So I don't want to say that
Terrifying to leave,
yeah,
actually.
it's terrifying to leave. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't wanna minimize that. So if
Yeah.
anybody who's listening is in that situation, we truly sympathize with you, and there is help for you. But,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
um, I just don't wanna say that, it's super easy. We understand why you
No.
haven't left.
No, yeah, it took me years to leave. Like I
Yeah.
it was a decision that I made, but it literally took me years to leave. And there were a lot of there were a lot of scary reasons behind that, but one of them was that someone who had at one point been my best friend, was murdered by her ex-husband. So women
Yeah.
always like quite often we know people who had very bad things happen to them, and the consciousness that we have been raised with, sometimes makes it, well, all the time makes it very difficult to leave. So no, it took me 5 years,
Yeah.
5 years of systematic changing things in my life and getting things ready. 5 years to leave.
Yeah.
So
But you did it.
I did it.
You
So
did
it's,
it, and you're free
I
now.
made, yeah. So I may, it sounds like I'm minimizing it, but I'm definitely not. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not. It was a major process.
Yeah. No, it's that's for sure. So, all right. So we've talked about so when you expect things, you know what? No, let's go back to everything beginning as a thought, because when I first heard this, I want to say it was 2010 when I was listening to Jack Canfield, and Jack Canfield said thoughts are things. And I started reading Napoleon Hill's Laws of Success, and he's talking about the ether, and the ether was really just it was disproven as a thing, right? But if you go back and you read those books from the 20s, the 30s, the ether, I think, is we could actually look at it as the substance of the cosmos, which is probably dark matter, and we still don't really know what dark matter is. So I guess I'm a bit of a physics buff, um, so you can still read that with that sort of a thought. I mean, even Yogananda, who people who follow me know that I'm a devotee of Paramahansa Yogananda,
Mhm.
and let me see if I can find a. I don't have one of his things, um, but he talks about lifetrons, and how there's little building blocks of human life, and those are lifetrons.
Mhm.
Whether it's true or not, I don't know. He's the one who talked about the astral plane initially. So everything begins as a thought. So how is it that we can, we hear this all the time: manage your thoughts, manage your thoughts, manage your thoughts. So what's one practical kind of, I don't know, nugget of advice you can give to the audience on how to manage their thoughts?
I would say there's two major ways, two main ways to change your thoughts and change your paradigms. One is through a traumatic experience. Nobody plans those. We don't really want those. Um, but they can change, you can change your thoughts and change everything you think and change all of your paradigms in an instant through a traumatic experience. The other way is through constant spaced repetition.
I
So
don't know, what
say,
is that? I don't know what is it? Constant space repetition?
yeah, constant spaced repetition, saying the same thing to yourself over and over again in a positive current statement. So say, for example, someone believes that they're unworthy of success.
Right.
Okay, this is a very real thing. We hear all the time about the fear of failure, but I've actually found that more people fear success
Yeah.
than fear failure. Um, so because they believe deep down in themselves that they're unworthy. So say someone believes that they're unworthy of success. So they would begin to say to themselves, um, every day, 20 times a day, 100 times a day, I am, and always start with I am worthy of all of the success I can imagine. And and say that over and over again. Look in the mirror, say it 5 times looking in one eye, 5 times looking in the other eye. Say it out loud.
Yeah.
Look like a fool, but it's working. It's
Yeah.
working.
Yeah.
And then every time you think something that would revolve around that you're not worthy of that, out loud again, or even if you're in an area where you can't say it out loud, say it again. I am worthy of all of the success I can imagine. I am worthy of all of the success that I can imagine. And the reason that we say I am is because I am changes us. I am changes our subconscious. It makes our subconscious feel that we are actually that way. I will be never happens. I
Yeah.
will be is like tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes.
Right.
Okay. We're always in today.
So Joe
For
Dispenza
example,
talks about the he talks about the precious present moment,
mhm,
or something. Some, I don't know exactly what he says, but that if you can get into that present moment, that's where all of the opportunity is. That's where um, all of the possibilities exist, is in the precious
exactly.
present moment.
What
And
you need
so
right
in
now.
order to say what I am, remember, again, you go back to the subconscious mind, or some people call it the lizard mind, right? Way back in, you want to hit the hypothalamus and the pineal gland, and these ancient parts of our brains, because really it's the prefrontal cortex here that is the most advanced part of the brain.
Mhm.
But in order for us to change our behavior, we have to get into the deeper parts. And in order to get into the deeper parts, we have to, there's some tricks about entering a trance and whatever, but you may not have to. You may be able to just repeat mantras like
You
I am,
absolutely
I
did.
am.
I am.
And I have an example just from my own life. I read this book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It.
Mhm.
And I started, and I don't know what it is about Americans, and you're from Canada, so I don't know if this applies to you, but we have this thing about fame, right? We glorify people like Kim Kardashian or Paris Hilton, who get famous from a sex tape, right? And
Mhm.
then they're able to build billion-dollar brands around that. but we don't talk there's this whole false humility thing that we have to also have. So we can't be braggadocious, or we can't think we're the best or anything like that. And so somebody like Muhammad Ali back in the 70s, when he said, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, you know, people mocked him, right?
Mhm.
But so there's this whole, like, it's almost a culture. It's like a, Eckhart Tolle would call it a pain body, right? So the pain body of the US is that you have to be self-deprecating.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Okay.
the same in Canada. Yes.
Yeah. And in reality, the more self-deprecating you are, the more you're going to believe that.
Hmm.
And so it's our responsibility. It's almost impossible to love someone else until you can love yourself.
That is so true.
And it feels like anathema. It feels really hard to say, well, I love myself. But when I do an exercise with the women in the membership, and we talk, we kind of pay attention to our thoughts. We write them down. And we do it for a couple of weeks. And then we go through this exercise of, well, would you talk to your child that way, or somebody you loved? And and so we talk about that. And the way we speak to ourselves is so mean.
Oh, definitely.
And so
Um,
we want to switch those patterns.
hmm I can tell you how I switched those patterns over the course of 5 years.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I am an intellectual female. Okay. That's, females in our culture are supposed to be a certain way. I never was. I never was.
Yeah, me
So
neither.
I was, I'm sure it happens to all women because this is just the culture of women. We're too fat, too skinny. We dress too, trashy. We dress too formal. Too easy, too hard, too
It's
like
our fault if we get raped.
exactly
Yeah.
everything. We're raised from, you know, you know, right from the very beginning to judge and hate ourselves because we caused whatever happened
Yeah.
to us.
Right.
So we really, I would say most women hate themselves deep down. They hate their bodies. They hate the way
That's
they
the
act.
patriarchy.
They hate their voices. They hate their hair. Multi-billion dollar industry because women hate themselves.
Yeah.
So what I did, because I am an intellectual woman, I went through and I learned my personality type in the Enneagram in
Oh,
Myers-Briggs.
oh, wait, 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 wait.
I
You did the Enneagram.
did.
Stephanie Davis was recently on the show talking about the Enneagram. So if you haven't done the Enneagram, go back and watch the Stephanie Davis episode. We talk a lot about the Enneagram. So you did a lot of self discovery. So you did Enneagram and you did Myers Briggs. What else?
I've just other random ones too. One where
Colby, like the Colby
I, I
assessment.
I didn't do that one. I did not
Okay.
do that one. I went
Strength
into
Finder is another
yeah,
one.
like I went through into my horoscope even. To learn I'm a Virgo born in the year of the fire dragon. That actually means something. I fit all of those characteristics. So I just went in and I learned. And the one thing that I learned was, oh, another one that I learned was dressing your truth. So learning, what your energy and dressing your truth is Carol Tuttle, and it's an energy type.
Okay.
So it's not personality, it's energy. So your personality can be totally different than the energy that you put off. And so I learned all of these things. And the biggest thing I learned from learning all of these things is I am normal. There is no reason to judge me because I'm loud. There was no reason to judge myself because I read too much. There was no reason to judge myself because, my intellect overtakes my emotions, and I can
Yeah.
I can go through emotional things but with a, colder, I guess, attitude. There's nothing wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with me. So
Right.
the more
And
I
that's a
learn,
lesson for all the ladies who are listening, and the men too. There
yeah,
is nothing wrong with you.
yeah.
And for whatever reason, that voice inside your head that likes to tell you that you suck, I call her the bitch inside my head who tells me I suck. And so
Some
that
people
that
name them. Yeah.
yeah, that voice is not you. That
No,
voice is just the voice. It's your roommate. And
yeah.
you are the observer of that voice. And once you can separate yourself out from that voice and understand that you are merely the observer of that voice, and that voice is, it's going to take both sides. It's not your friend. It just is.
Hmm.
Once you decide that and understand that, then you realize that you are normal.
Yep.
And that's such a great, it's so freeing. It's so freeing. You know, I recommend this book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. If you want to understand the voice inside your head, that's probably one of the best books to read. It's heady, but it's a life changing book, and sometimes you have to read it several times for it to sink in. So, so in the interest of time, I'd like to know if you could walk us through a visualization, maybe a future pacing visualization.
Okay. What exactly would you like me to do?
So I'm thinking that if you have some sort of a visualization that you walk your clients through, right? That would help them to raise their energy. You know, maybe like a quick guided meditation might be what we're talking about here. All right, so let's go through this visualization.
Okay. Okay. I'd like you to close your eyes. I'd like you to picture your perfect day. Where are you? Look around, turn in a circle, a 360-degree circle, and see everything around you. Who's there? Which people are beside you? Your spouse, your children, friends? Who's there? How does the sun feel on your skin? Or how does the cold feel if that's where you are? What temperature is it? How does that feel? I want you to begin walking towards where you want to be. I want you to smell. What does it smell like? What foods or flowers or aromas are in the air? What sound? What do you hear? Waves crashing, a ski lift, children playing, music. Continue to walk through that day in your mind, feeling the temperature, smelling the smells, hearing the sounds. And how do you feel? Content, happy, in love? Continue to visualize the place that you're in, and what you're doing, and most of all, how you feel. Now I'd like you to slowly open your eyes and come back from that place.
That's amazing. Thank you,
I was
Lindsay.
on a beach.
Yeah, me too. You know,
Feeling the sun.
it's interesting because I did something very similar with, I was talking to you before about my brother, and you know, my brother was talking about how he's in a PhD program and he's working and he's struggling, right? And I asked him, I said, "Well, could you get a picture of how you feel when school is done? Elated, relieved, or grateful?"
Yes,
And he says, "You know, it's kind of blurry. Like, I don't know what I'll do." And I said, "Well, if you can get clear on the emotions, you can start feeling them now and train your body to pull your future to you."
exactly.
And that is what has helped me, you know, because of this tragedy that I just had. And he says, "Wow, that's powerful." And I said, "Thing is, it's working." Because at the end of the day, who we are being will dictate all of our doing. and then we can have. I was a surgeon in medical school. I was a medical student when I was an undergrad, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So he says to me, then this combines being that he's a Buddhist, right? This combines being the change I want to see plus the fundamental lessons of karma.
Mm-hmm.
In order to create the future, in order to create the future I want, I must cultivate the seeds that will make it possible. And I said, I didn't even know it was happening. So I was manifesting and not even, following the laws, because the laws are the laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, exactly. You have your unique dharma, be do have. And so I said, motivation, therefore, is a myth. We are pulled by the gratitude for the thing we want, and gratitude means it's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, get clear on what you want, pick a letter or symbol. Before you meditate, bring that letter or symbol to mind. So this is something you can do. We're going to pull out this meditation that Lindsay just did for us. And so I just want to give you these instructions, because when you do the meditation, and if you do these things beforehand, the meditation will be even more powerful. So pick a letter or symbol, and before you meditate, bring that letter or symbol to mind. Plant it in your heart each time, and then let it go and drift into the cosmic consciousness, and know that all is okay. A strong vision will pull you forward, but gratitude and strong emotions will pull the future to you.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know,
I
and so
actually, I have beside me my gratitude journal.
awesome.
Every day, I write 10 different things
That's
that I'm
great.
grateful for. I start my day this way. Some of them are things I'm grateful for right now, and some of the things I'm grateful are happening in the future.
That's awesome. And a gratitude journal, that's been proven that even if you just write down 3 things a day, that will affect your happiness for months to come, even if you just do it for a week.
Yep.
So where can people
Yes.
find you?
People can find me on my Facebook page,
Okay.
or my Facebook group.
What's
I
the
provide.
what's the Facebook group called?
It is called Move into Results.
Okay.
Manifest Your Destiny. Sort of a play
Awesome.
on manifest.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. And then we'll make sure we hook that up in the show notes. Do you have a website?
I do have a website. It's currently under development,
Okay.
but it's moveintoresults.com.
Great. All
And
right.
I have my contact information on there right now, as the website is developing, so that they can get me there.
That's great. All right. Well, Lindsay, listen, if anyone has any questions for Lindsay, I'm happy to bring her back to answer your questions. You can send an email to me, drgordon, drgordon, at menopausemovement.com. You see Menopause Movement right up here, right? So Dr. Gordon at menopausemovement.com, and I bring Lindsay back to answer questions. Lindsay, thanks so much for being on the show today. I can't
Thanks for
wait to
having
have you
me.
back.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Menopause Movement Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Gordon. If you like this episode, please subscribe, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. And during this episode, we talked quite a bit about the transformational coaching that's available in the Menopause Movement membership. To discover how you can become a part of this transformational community, go to menopausemovement.com. I'll see you there. And I wanted to take a moment to share what one of our community members has achieved since she's been working with me. Amanda has had an amazing transformation. Amanda was struggling with joint pain, hot flashes, forgetfulness, sleeplessness, weight gain, and an angry mood. In addition, she lost her confidence and self-worth as menopause crept up on her. Since joining the Menopause Movement membership, Amanda's quality of life has improved in ways no one could have predicted. She has truly transcended the symptoms of menopause and is now living her best life. This is what I want for everyone in the community. Take a listen to Amanda's story. I just want to show you what's possible when you join the community and do the work. Transcendence is available for you, too. Now here's Amanda.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I am 54 years old and I live in the UK. At this moment in time, I'm in a fairly good place in my life. Recently, I've lost 18 pounds and I feel healthier and more content than I have done in a long time. However, it hasn't always been this way. Back in October 2011, I had an accident which resulted in a serious injury and surgery and subsequently changed my life forever. And over the next few years during my recovery, menopause crept up on me, but I didn't realise what was happening straight away. I started suffering from more joint pain. I went from always being cold to feeling like I was going to internally combust several times a day. I was getting really forgetful, my sleep pattern was terrible, I piled the weight on and looked pregnant, and I felt angry all the time. When things were at their worst, I felt incredibly alone and very down. I lost my confidence and self-worth, and I felt completely misunderstood and confused about what was happening to me. I received very little support or information from my GP, and there was limited information on the internet, but what I really wanted and needed was someone to talk to. The turning point for me was at the beginning of July 2019, when completely by accident, I came across Dr. Michelle Gordon's Facebook page on the menopause movement. At that time, she was doing daily live streams, and I started listening to them. I related to a lot of what she was saying, and I was really interested in the variety of topics about menopause that she was talking about, the alternative ways to manage menopause symptoms in a more natural way, and how your mindset is the key factor to transforming your life more positively. I was also really interested to listen to the other ladies in the group and what they had to say. Ladies who had been or were still suffering from similar symptoms to me. How a lot of them have been able to manage their symptoms much better, and how they have turned their lives around and embraced menopause instead of treating it like a demon. Although nervous about taking a risk to join a group I didn't know, I knew that I couldn't and didn't want to carry on living my life the way I was and feeling the way I was feeling. So I made a decision that I too wanted to learn more about menopause, how to manage my symptoms better, and most importantly, learn more about my mindset and the fact that I needed help with changing my outlook on life in order for me to get it back. Life is nowhere near perfect, and some days I still have my struggles, but on the whole, I can honestly say that I am in a much better place than I have been for a long time, and for my down days, I understand better how to manage them so they don't get out of hand. I am now on a journey with a fantastic community of like-minded women, all of whom continue to support each other no matter where we all live, and I no longer feel confused, misunderstood, worthless or alone. For me, this group has been both a lifesaver and a life changer, and most importantly, the one-to-one private coaching sessions that are available with Dr. Gordon as part of the membership have been invaluable to me. They provide me with an opportunity to discuss more difficult and private issues that I am struggling with, and an opportunity to find solutions to address them. Without doubt, I can wholeheartedly say that I owe Dr. Gordon and her group everything for showing me how to take my life back and, more importantly, take control of it. Joining her membership has been the best thing that I have ever done. However, this course is not for everyone. If you're looking for a quick fix that doesn't cost you any time, money or effort, then this is not the group for you. But if you're in a similar situation to how I was not that long ago, feeling desperate and at the end of your tether, but are willing to invest in your own future happiness and peace of mind, but are unsure as to what to do, ask questions and talk to Dr. Gordon. And if you choose to take that leap of faith, you won't regret it, because who wouldn't want to take their life back if they had the chance?
If you are feeling like Amanda, you're not alone. There is help for you in the Menopause Movement membership. I want to help you transcend your symptoms and live your best life. To discover how you can become a part of this life-changing community, go to menopausemovement.com.